at that fellow there. That's not me. So we return to Bodhidharma. Everything comes from mind. Everything comes from mind. Bodhidharma is telling us if we want to find Buddha, we look inside, we look at our mind. And he's saying that that all the trappings of philosophy and theology and religion won't actually come to the fundamental point, the Genjo Koan, actualizing the fundamental point, which is this mind. So Bodhidharma is saying something like Dogen is saying something like Bodhidharma is saying, and Huineng, the sixth ancestor. So it's always pointing here and now. Always. Always. Where is the session of last year? Where's the session of last year? Where's the mistake I made in the morning service? Where's it gone? Where has the moment that I entered the Zendo 5 minutes ago, where's that gone? And why beyond definitions? Why beyond definitions? Everything that appears in the three realms comes from the mind. Hence Buddhas of the past and future teach mind to mind without bothering about definitions. Because definitions, useful though they are, although, I'm going to contradict Bodhidharma now, although they should be engaged in, definitions should be engaged in, debate, discussion. What am I doing now? I should shut up. That's what I should do. As the Tathagata did in case 1 in the Book of Equanimity. Case 1, the Tathagata takes to the teaching platform, is announced, and then he descends the teaching platform. Again, pointing to this. So definitions don't get this. Definitions can't actually get it. What is Sesshin? What is this Sesshin? What is Jampa-ling? What is Jampa-ling? In its total reality, in its total functioning, in its total fundamental reality, what is Jampa-ling? What is this Sesshin? Is it what we do in the dojo? Is it the food prepared in the kitchen that's brought over? Is it the blossoms falling from this beautiful plant above the doorway that people like Cohen and Kozan and Binsen are lucky enough to enjoy, while poor Jean and Magda have to look at a wall? So, what is Sesshin? It is beyond. It is beyond. Gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha. Gone, gone, gone beyond, gone, altogether beyond. Oh, what an awakening. So, any one of these elements of sesshin are not sesshin, and they have no intrinsic reality of their own. We know this in a mundane sense about mind. We can even refer to a mundane sense that is a table because our mind makes it a table. Over there is a bell because our mind makes it a bell. When does it become a bell? When it's rung. So, what is Jambaling? What is Sesshin? This is what the Buddha is teaching in the famous flower sermon to Mahakasyapa. This is what Bodhidharma is suggesting beyond definitions. But I said either yesterday or the day before, this is nothing new. Excuse me, I have a cough. Could you define my cough? So anyone that didn't hear the cough, reproduce that experience of hearing the cough to that person who wasn't in the room at the time. Myo-san coughed. Tell me exactly what it was like. Well, it was like this. No, it wasn't. It wasn't. So this is not a secret teaching. Unless you can't see it, then it's a secret teaching. Like all great secrets, they're right there, your nose, right in front of you. You know Dogen's famous phrase when he came back from China. It says, "Oh, Mr. Fancy, back from his travels in China, huh? 3 years in China. Well, how'd you get on? What you learn? I bet you were in all those fancy monasteries out in China learning all sorts of cool things. What you learn? Nose vertical, eyes horizontal." That's what he said. He learned that. What, Dogen? What are you talking about? What are you saying, Dogen? Get out of here. Go back to China with you. Always the bitter word. So, this is a secret teaching if you can't see it. This flower is a secret teaching if you can't see it. In the Keto ceremony we're doing tonight, the flower will be part of it. We'll have to find a nice wild picked flower. Jim, maybe do that, would you? Thank you. Or Jean, Botanical Gardens. We'll have to see. The two of you are on the job. So, the flower. In the Diamond Sutra, we see this teaching again. Okay, so again, Bodhidharma isn't inventing the wheel. Subhuti, what do you think? Has the Tathagata obtained supreme enlightenment? Does the Tathagata in fact expound the Dharma? Subhuti replied, as I understand the meaning of the Buddha's teaching, there is no fixed Dharma called supreme enlightenment, and there is also no fixed Dharma the Tathagata can expand. No fixed Dharma. This came up yesterday. Sensei, I think I understand it now. Get out of the room. Ding, 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 ding. Sensei, now I know what you're talking about. I don't even know what I'm talking about. Get out of the room. Ding, 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 ding. You know, we'd like it to be fixed, yeah? We'd like it. We'd much prefer it to be fixed, this Dharma. We'd like to contain it in a sutra, in a book, in a Dharma talk, in a sesshin, in a teaching. I'd like to tell you the whole thing now, you know. Was it Dongshan's teacher? I love this story. I probably have mentioned it before. Dongshan, maybe it's not Dongshan, because my memory's always bad at remembering the details of these stories. Dongshan goes to his teacher and asks for the point to be explained. And Dongshan refuses to explain it. Dongshan's teacher, excuse me. And Dongshan is really annoyed. And I'll have to riff with the story a little bit. So he goes and asks the teacher, does his bows, teacher, you know, Dokusan or something like that. Could you explain to me, please, the what is emptiness? You know, what is mu? What is mu? Really, what is the meaning of mu? What is the meaning of emptiness? And in my fantasy version of the story now, the teacher just kind of starts picking at his nails. Doesn't answer. And Dongshan goes off. See, this is how koans should be. Koans shouldn't be fossilized. Koans should be played with, invented, alive. So Dongshan leaves. And reverting to the story as has been handed down to us, many years later, he returns and thanks his teacher for not telling him. Thank you for not telling me. Thank you. If he had told him, the insight would never have been his. Would never have been authentic, it would never have emerged. Many, many versions of this story in the Zen tradition, many koans. One came up in Dokusan yesterday. Gutai, I think it's Gutai. Gutai's finger. You know that one? So he teaches like this. So when he's asked to explain the Dharma, Gutai goes. Many people are enlightened by Gutai's finger. So Gutai's off travelling one day, and his student, his attendant, is left in charge of the monastery. And a guy comes and says, I've heard of this guy, he's a great teacher. And he comes along and... by the way, if you read that I've got the whole version wrong, that's typical of me, right? So, okay, I'm just kind of working from memory here. So the student says, Gutai, he's not here at the moment. Master isn't here. He's gone on a message in town. He's gone to do the lotto. He'll be back at 8. And so the traveller who's travelled all this way says, oh well, I can't wait. I've got an appointment on the next mountain. I have to go to a hermitage there, and I'm expected to have to be given admittance to this hermitage. So it's too bad I have to go. Please tell him I pass this way. And the student says, well, I know his teaching. And he says, oh, right, grateful. Could you tell it to me? And he says, yeah, sure. You ready? ready? Yeah. And the guy's going, your man's going, oh my God, this is awesome. This is really amazing. This is it. That's it. It's amazing. Amazing. Dude, that's totally it. Now I have it. Kensho. So, he leaves, and guess who he meets on his way over to the hermitage? He meets Gutai, and he doesn't recognize him, and they get talking, and he says, oh, I was just up at that famous monastery of that famous teacher, Gutai, and he wasn't there, but his attendant actually gave me his teachings. So, so I was really lucky, you know. And Gutai says, very interesting. And off he goes, and he gets in. He goes, attendant. Attendant. So the attendant comes along, and he says, I was just down doing the lotto, down in cost cutters at the bottom of the mountain, and any visitors when I was away? No, nothing happened. And the attendant is kind of going, not really, no, nothing. Well, someone dropped by actually, and he says yes, and he says he was looking for you, and I wasn't here, was I? No. So you told him to come back. He said, well, I decided to tell him your teaching. Show him your teaching. Gutai was ready for this. He knew this was coming. So what did you show him? What did you tell him? Well, I went, Gutai gets the knife out and goes, off with the finger. Anyway, the story could end there, but it doesn't, because some people say he chopped the finger off, some people say he cut the finger, some people say he just grabbed and bent it. You know, there's various stories. And the attendant was going, me finger! And he's going down, bending over, and he looks up at Gutai, and Gutai goes, and your man is, boom, enlightenment! That's it. That's how his attendant, his student, becomes a Zen master, becomes enlightened. So these mistakes, it's a great story. I love that story. Great story. And those mistakes are the things that lead us. So these are the blessings, these indiscretions, these mistakes. You know, the teacher corrects you in a Zen context, and it's not meant to hurt you, really. It's meant to catch you at that moment where you say, I messed up there, you know, or it's a moment of transition. It's a moment of awakening, actually. It might be a minor little kensho. You know, it happens to us all. I get outside, I go, why isn't the morning service happening? And then, no! Okay? So, Subhuti, what do you think? Has the Tathagata in fact obtained supreme enlightenment? Does the Tathagata in fact expound the Dharma? Subhuti replies, as I understand the meaning of the Buddha's teaching, there's no fixed Dharma called supreme enlightenment, and there's also no fixed Dharma that the Tathagata can expound. Why? Because the Dharma that the Tathagata expounds cannot be clung to and cannot be expressed in words. It is neither Dharma nor not Dharma. It is neither Dharma nor not Dharma. So it's unteachable, actually. I am out of a job. Can't be taught. Diamond Sutra. So, see, this is really in tune. This resonates with the Soto way greatly. Because the Soto way is the ordinary way. It is the ordinary way. You know, when Zen was transplanted to the West, really a century ago, or thereabouts, it all started. And I think we got this real heavy emphasis on Kensho and Satori when it came here. You know? Maybe there was a lot of Rinzai influence in that. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not being sectarian. I'm just saying there is a greater emphasis in that school on the awakening experience. So that's the kind of flavour of Zen we get. And that residual transmission of early Zen to the West is still hugely in the popular imagination. Zen monks get this. Whoa! Of course they do. Of course Zazen leads to Kensho. Ordinary life leads to Kensho. Look at the Mumonkan or look at any of the koan collections, the Blue Cliff Record. Someone gets enlightened when they stub their toe on a stone, or when they're sweeping and a pebble hits bamboo. That sound. Whatever it is that sparks enlightenment opens up your Dharma eye. You go, oh, there it is. Many of us have had these experiences. Maybe we've even forgotten them, you know. Many of us have had these. I love that in the Pali Canon, the Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree, remembering when he was a boy, sitting in a rose bush, and his father's working in the fields, and I doubt his father was working in the fields. I might again be misremembering story, because his father was a nobleman. Maybe his father was working nearby or talking to workmen in the fields. But anyway, the point is, Shakyamuni, Siddhartha Gautama is sitting in the rose bush, and he's just still and silent, and this feeling of bliss and peace comes over him from sitting in stillness and silence. And this is a spontaneous kind of a experience, and many of us have had this. We have it in our lives more frequently than we know. It might be not the great Kensho, the great Maha Kensho. That doesn't matter. I remember when I was a couple of times when I was a kid and a teenager, these kind of massive experiences. I remember once being sent out by my mother or father, I can't remember which, to rake the leaves. I just remember it was autumn in Galway. You know those lovely October evenings in Ireland when the sky is beautifully rose and pink coloured and purple, and all these amazing, as the sun is set, the sky is streaked with these amazing colours, and the amazing colours are being reflected by the leaves under your feet in autumn, and all the leaves of autumn are gathered, and they haven't become soggy with rain. They're crisp and brittle at that moment in autumn. So I'm just raking the leaves, and just, I don't know what, but that was it. That was it. And I remember another time in school, in secondary school, I was educated by the Jesuits in Sea Road in Galway, and I remember walking out of the toilet at break time, the 11 o'clock or whatever break in school, and that was it. I knew it. I knew it. And I knew that the past, present and future were all simultaneously present at that moment. Everything was present at that moment. And that there was, I intuitively knew it, that there was no birth and no death. No birth, no death. But I didn't have the, that was the real thing, in a way. I didn't have the language to articulate that, or even to understand it intellectually. So, the first scene is a scene of natural beauty, nature. Often, because you see, nature puts us in a context where we are so kind of dwarfed in time and space. It offers us a context of boundlessness. Landscapes do. Landscapes, you're a landscape painter. When you're in the landscape, Albert Camus liked to write about this as well. He liked to talk about, when you're walking through old ruins or countryside, the mountains, you are just walking through an eternal landscape. Gives you this sense of eternity. And so all time is kind of gathered in here, into this moment. All time. And space. So that the boundless nature of reality, of no birth and no death, is immediately apparent to you. And so nature does that. But walking out of the toilet where guys were having shites and pisses and someone was in the cubicle, probably having a quick drag of a fag before having to go into double accountancy, okay, and blowing it out the window, okay, happened there too. So, roses and lilies, garbage and shit, beyond those distinctions. So, I better talk about Bodhidharma, so, sorry. Let's just dive in and see what happens. Yeah, your own self-nature. If you don't see your nature, invoking Buddhas, reciting sutras, making offerings and keeping precepts are all useless. You get blessings, he said. You get blessings, all right, but you don't get Buddha. The big, and we talked about the unconditioned. To find the Buddha, all you have to do is to see your nature. And here's I love this line. So, to find the Buddha, all you have to do is to see your nature. And the next line, the truth is, there's nothing to find. There's nothing to find. Because you have it. You have it already. But to reach such an understanding, you need a teacher, and you need to struggle. If practice is too easy at the moment for you, maybe you need to go deeper. If practice has become pedestrian and something that you're like a comfortable armchair. Here's my zazen. It's a comfortable armchair in my day that I get into and I go, okay. Now it's time to change the armchair. An armchair with legs a little too long, your feet are dangling. You can't touch the ground. The armchair is a little too low and you're kind of going, this is slight, just the fit doesn't fit right. Okay? Like a bed you sleep in that doesn't quite do the job. So, if you've become very complacent or comfortable in your practice, it probably needs to be a little bit more challenging, and you need to go in and investigate. Go deep. Don't encounter the idea of your nature. Encounter your nature. Everything you see is like a dream or illusion. If you don't find a teacher soon, you live this life in vain. It's true, you have the Buddha nature. It's true, you have the Buddha nature, but without the help of a teacher, you'll never know it. Only one person in a million becomes enlightened without a teacher's help. Can you name any of those people?
Buddha.
Buddha, Shakyamuni. Yeah.
Kosa.
Back to Kosa. Shakyamuni. Actually, we encountered really one last summer. Wenan, pounding rice. He really didn't have any formal admittance to the monastery. He was out the back pounding rice. He was seen as an illiterate country bumpkin. He's not getting into the monastery. Put him in the kitchen. Put him in the storehouse. So there's one in a million. But Bodhidharma had a teacher, Prajnatara. And my teacher helped me greatly in clarifying the fundamental point. Master Taigu, who I bow to and thank for everything he's given me. Because he gave me nothing. Except for a lot of cases and lots of things to understand. People who don't understand and think they can do so without study, oh look at this now, are no different from those deluded souls. Oh, you got to study? What are we studying? Whoever sees his nature is a Buddha, whoever doesn't is a mortal. But if you can find your Buddha nature apart from your mortal nature, where is it? Our mortal nature is our Buddha nature. Vajra.
The Vajra.
Vajra.
The ball in the middle.
The Vajra, yeah. Our mortal nature is our Buddha nature. That was the teaching of the Vajra yesterday. Good. Beyond this nature, there's no Buddha. Beyond your mortal nature, there's no Buddha. Beyond your... What did I sign up for? The Buddha is our nature. There's no Buddha besides this nature, and there's no nature beside the Buddha. But suppose I don't see my nature. Can't I still attain enlightenment by evoking Buddhas, reciting sutras and making offerings, observing precepts, practicing devotions or doing good works? No, you can't. Why not? If you attain anything at all, it's conditional. It's karmic. This fancy machine has just died, I think. Because I'm talking for too long as normal. A Buddha is free of karma, free of cause and effect. That came up yesterday as well, the unconditioned. To say he attains anything at all is to slander a Buddha. The nature of his mind is basically empty, neither pure nor impure. He's free of practice and realization. A Buddha doesn't observe precepts. A Buddha doesn't do good or evil. A Buddha is someone who does nothing. A Buddha isn't a Buddha. A Buddha isn't a Buddha. A Buddha is not a Buddha. why didn't you folks just stick with Christianity? Right? It's just, much more straightforward, or whatever your religion of upbringing was. A Buddha is not a Buddha. Subhuti replied, as I understand the meaning of the Buddha's teaching, there is no fixed Dharma called Supreme Enlightenment, and there is also no fixed Dharma the Tathagata can expound. Why? Because the Dharma the Tathagata expounds cannot be clung to and cannot be expressed in words. It is neither Dharma nor not Dharma. A Buddha is not a Buddha. So, I better wrap up for today. Many faith traditions have the answers, and we have the questions. Many faith traditions have the formula to address all your inquiries. What about this? That. What about that? This. This is the truth. Judaism, Christianity, Islam, whatever. This is the truth. This is the truth. Buddhism is unusual. Buddhism says Buddhism isn't it. Buddha is not a Buddha. Buddhism is again pointing. Goes back to the Pali Canon, goes back to the Shakyamuni's teachings. He's not contradicting the Pali Canon here. These Mahayanists are not rejecting the earlier teachings. The raft image, the Buddha's raft, the raft. The teachings are a raft. They get you over to the other shore. When the raft has done its job, you dispense with the raft. But where is the other shore, Hodo?
You're on it.
Right here. Oh, no hesitation. We're making progress. Yeah, no hesitation. We're on it. We're in Jampaling. The sky is blue. The rain clouds are far away. And it's a lovely day for a walk.